the leader in HD. This is 12 News Today.
With kids heading back to school, parents always hear the term stranger danger. So how do you talk to your kids about children, and what do you tell them? Nicole McGregor is in studio with more on that. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning. Do you face stranger danger as a catchy term, but really, is it a realistic one? We're joined now by retired Phoenix police officer and current vice president of Childhelp, Paul Penzone. Good morning to you, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
Always good to talk to you. Okay, first we want to point out something very important, and that is that a lot and most abuse happens occurs with people that they know.
Correct. Stranger danger, I think, was a catchy term, as you stated, almost like a marketing type one to bring attention to the issue. But it's a false sense of security, because the majority of crimes against children happen to those with their family, close friends, or someone that they do know. So to use that term is misleading, and it kind of gives you that false sense of security. That's
why we need to talk to our kids, and that's the first thing we want to mention. In terms of preparing your children, you need to talk to them. Have conversations with them before school starts.
Communication is key, and you know, age-wise, you can start much younger than you think. I mean, 4 or 5 years old is the point when you can really start talking about some of these issues. But as they grow, you have to have consistent conversation, and whatever standards or expectations you set, you need to stay to those, and they need to know what those are. But you need to make the threats real to them, not in a way that it scares them, but a way that they're prepared.
Someone offers your child a ride home, you say what to that?
They should know in advance who would be their ride home and when that is to be expected. Anybody outside that scope, even someone that might be to the norm, they should know that if it's not the person you tell them on the day that you tell them, that they should go for help somewhere, go to a friend, do something out of the ordinary, but do not get into the car.
Also prep them on if they're home alone and the doorbell rings?
Yeah, and that's one that's hard, because with both parents working now, and at what age are you really comfortable leaving your child in the home? There are two aspects. The one is, if the doorbell rings, you want them to be quiet so that that person doesn't know that they're home alone. But that's when burglars will strike them, because they think no one is at home, and they might come through the door. So what is the next step for the child? Do they go right to the phone and be prepared to call? Is there a safe place in the house where they're expected to hide, or they go out the back door to the closest neighbor that you've already prearranged, and that neighbor knows to look for them or to how to take care of those circumstances? So there's almost a few steps, but don't underestimate your child's ability to carry those steps out.
Also, lay out your expectations. You tell your children that you want to know where they are, who they're with, when they're going to be home, and that they have to call to tell you if they're going to be late.
Absolutely. That applies, obviously, when they start getting into the years where their freedom is going to grow a little bit. If they're headed somewhere, and if you make this routine and they know it's an expectation, they're pretty good at staying at it, as long as they know that you're going to hold them accountable. But where are they going to be, what time, if they're going to be running late, do they call you? And if they divert from that normal plan, that first plan, they need to let you know what the diversion will be.
Okay, quickly, if transitional stage questions, if somebody is watching your child, how do you find the right person to do that?
You know, you have to really be vigilant when it comes to, this is your most precious asset. So don't be afraid to, if it's a young adult, like a teenager, sit in the first few times as they babysit and interact with the child to make sure you're comfortable with how they respond in situations that might be a little bit stressful. If it's someone who's been doing it for a little while, who are their references? Because if they've been doing it for a while, they should have people who can speak on their behalf and say that they are qualified. But even then, you want to almost make the routine a little bit more where it's a surprise for the person sitting for your child, where you can check in without them realizing that you're going to be checking in on them.
And the right age for them to stay home, he says, really depends upon the child. You have to talk about that for sure. Thank you, Paul, as always. 1-800-4A-CHILD is their 24-hour safety hotline. They can answer questions with safety concerns, and they can point you in the direction of a ton of resources.